away the responsibility of the county executive from responding. And your response, really, Governor, you should have responded row by row and say that the 141 million on donor funds released through Exchequer Pakara perhaps was a misclassification of an item. And I think the Auditor General would have been satisfied with that. Patrick, am I saying, yes. Am I making sense? Is Chair, that what is expected?
Chair, you have put it correctly. And if I can add one word, the response by CC Finance, he has said he has given the auditors the general vouchers. Maybe he can demonstrate on this document before Senate where those vouchers are so that because we don't have them also.
Yeah, because, so now tell us CC, your first row, can you explain that variance of 141 million without telling us there is a JV?
Yes, Chairman.
Yes, what is it attributable to?
The 141 variance is actually the Kenya Devolution Support Program money.
Where is that in your management response?
That we had taken to transfer from other government entities.
Where do we see it, in the JV or in the evidence that you have brought to the Senate?
You see?
Chair. Is it there?
You see?
That is the explanation the Auditor General required before you coming to the Senate. We would have already ticked off this matter and proceeded.
Chair.
Senator Onyonka.
Governor Ntutu, you know we highly respect you. I'm actually completely heartbroken. Your team doesn't have the capacity to help you. That is the conclusion I've reached. I can't have an explanation why you are asked to provide documentation on money that is even donor funded, and your people are not able to give these gentlemen documents. What, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what do I do? How do I help your team? It's you know, these are the things that make us look at devolution and what governors are doing. And we know most of you are busy, but I can tell you, this guy is not helping you. All these people are not helping you.
Chair, just to write chair on what Senator Onyonka, even on donor-funded, Governor, the PMF allows you to have a special purpose account. So to account for it is very easy because it is well structured. And I saw the other day in State House you are receiving more than 46 billion to support through the World Bank donated funds. So because since you have a special purpose, unless you are saying on these donor grants and others that were given to Narok County government, that were given through the county government did not have a special purpose account, because every donor funded or money that is given through World Bank through the projects must have a special purpose account. And I think Nandi at some point in the last financial year, chair, the year under review, there were issues where they had taken money that were brought by World Bank to fixed account, then they earn interest. So unless now the reason maybe, Governor, you don't want to give documents to OAG is because the money was put in fixed account to generate interest who no one knows. It becomes easy unless the CCM Finance can tell us whether at the initial of this donor funded, it was in special purpose account, so that we are sure it was not put in a fixed account to generate interest where that interest cannot be accounted for. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, and just as you respond to that, the reason I'm frustrated is that these matters have come all the way to Nairobi as audit queries, and you go through the financial statements, you realize that the solutions are there. So it's either a failure of the persons who are custodians of public funds then, or a problem with the manner in which the OAG approached this. Because CC, what we expect is what you have said orally is what should have been written here, not telling the governor to read a journal voucher. The first row you have said is KDSP, and you can clearly see it has affected the second row. So it was misclassification of KDSP, isn't it? If you go to the third, fourth, the fifth row, the 212 million, road maintenance levy fund. So why can't you just explain that instead of confusing us with general vouchers? Governor, next time you're appearing before the Senate, please ask questions with regards to these responses before they come here. And ensure your team sits with the Office of the Auditor General before they come here. Because the next issue relates to the 212 million, the one for RMLF. So I want to request members to go to issue number 3 and see how that matter was dealt with. Auditor General, read your finding.
Thank you, Chair. Paragraph number 3, unsupported road maintenance levy fund. The statement of receipts and payments reflect an amount of 354,093,123 in respect of transfers from other government entities, which, as disclosed in Note 3 to the financial statements, include an amount of 212,248,476 relating to road maintenance levy fund. However, the cash book and the bank statement presented for audit reflected a balance of 170,221,832, leading to a reconciled variance of 42,026,644. Further, review of the record revealed that during the year under review, an amount of 231,702,137 was paid to road contractors, but the expenditure has not been disclosed in the financial statements. In the circumstances, the completeness and accuracy of the road maintenance levy fund receipts of Kenya shillings 212,248,476 and the expenditure of 231,702,137 for the year ended 30th June 2021 could not be confirmed. Chair.
Governor, your response?
Honorable Chair, the county government of Narok received road maintenance levy funds of Kenya shilling 212,248,476 into the CRF account in the year 2020-2021, which was released in 2 tranches. One for the Kenya shilling 56, 124, 238 and 25 cents, and 156, 124, 238, 25 cents respectively. The same was disclosed as transfer to the county government in Note 3 to the financial settlement, and to the SPA in Note 15, that is the special purpose account. However, there was disbursement of 114,097,594 relating to the previous year, which is 2019-2020, which was received in July 2020. The transfer of 170,221,832, which the auditor is highlighting, was a combination of 114,097,594 and 56,124,238 and 25 cents, which covered tranches of the financial year between 2019-2020 and financial year 2020-2021. The payment relating to the previous years had been reported in the respective years. Thus, only expenditure for the year 2020-2021 was reported in the year under review, which is 231,702, 137 was a payment made for the previous year. So I think there is a mixture of the 2 financial years.
Excuse me, Chair. Excuse me,
Senator
Chair. Governor, what question were you asked?
Exactly.
And if you notice, go to page 6, the second paragraph. The auditor says, review of the record reveals that during this year under review, an amount of 231 was paid to the road contractors, but the expenditure has not been disclosed in financial statements. We are not asking you the money, where it came from, what it did. No, we're just saying, and
Chair, I think what we should have done first is to put the question to the auditor. The auditor what is your, you had gone through this, you have looked
But Chair,
the bank statements.
Chair, even before you go to the auditor, if the governor is not answering the question, why can't we first of all get clear direction as to why he's not answering that question? Because we'll go to the auditor, yes.
Yes.
What will the auditor help us in this matter? It's a matter that the auditor has already raised this issue. He expects to be answered.
The auditor has a very small role in this. It's just to tell us they have reviewed, because there's an appendix 3, which we expect the auditor to have looked at, just to tell us whether you have looked at appendix 3, what is the content, how does it deal with the question, and then we come back to the senators.
Thank you, Chair. I've gone through the Appendix 3. The Appendix 3 is a summary of the road maintenance levy account, which starts with an opening balance of 114 million, which was the opening balance for the beginning of the year. Then they received the two tranches, like management have responded, of 56 million and 156 million. That is the total money that was there available under the road maintenance levy for that year. Then subsequent to that, that schedule, the list of payments which were made out of this RMF account, and we have gone through the documents for all of them to the total of 326 million. So the closing balance of that account agrees with 214 million that was there at the closing of the road maintenance levy.
Have you traced the 231 million that you queried? Because you queried 231 million, but you're saying the expenditure there was 326 million.
We have verified the 326 million that has been provided here as the correct payment and not the one we referred in the audit report.
So the correct payment is 326 million and not 231 million as per your report?
Yes.
Okay. Senators?
I think I'm at loss because the intervention by Senator Nyonka is similar to what I wanted to request to be responded to. Number one, can we get a response to the variance which is not reconciled for the 42 million? And then number two, the 231 that was paid to the contractors, but the expenditure had not been disclosed. Can you deal with that issue as well? And then number three, I think if I add the two tranches bring into the figure of 212, 248, the 156 and the 156. Now, what I wanted to hear from the auditors first was that the 212, if you add it with the opening balance, does it give you the figure of 354? Does it? It doesn't. Okay, so where is that variance as well? And how do you deal with that? Auditors, before the governor responds to the other query. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Yes.
Okay. My question is very simple. I've added the 56 million and the 156, that gives you the 212. Okay? The money that they received. But you had indicated that there was an opening balance in the same account. Yet, there is a payment of 231,702, 137, that has not been disclosed in the financial statement. How do you reconcile those two? And number three, the 42 million. Have you been given documentation to reconcile that variance?
Thank you, Chair. Maybe I just want to make a clarification. When you look at that schedule, for 114 million is the money they received in July for 2020. But the opening balance up there, it's 259,644. That was the opening balance. But now they added for 114 million. But 114 million related to the previous year. That's one. Two, when they were doing reconciliation, they did not concentrate on the 42. What they did is that made the reconciliation for the ORA account. For the ORA account, that is the opening balance, plus 114, plus 56, plus the 156, which now brings it to 263. The 263. Then from the 263, 373. It brings it to 373. Then from there, they have listed the payments, which we had said that they had not disclosed. They have not listed the all payments, which now brings it to 326.
Auditor, I'm trying to make sense of the response by the governor, which is not making sense.
Okay.
And I'm looking at what you're saying here. The governor is saying that he received 2 tranches, 56 and 156.
Yes.
That makes it 212.
212.
Okay? What was the opening balance before the 212 was received? Was it 0, or what was the balance brought forward? Was there any?
Yes, there was.
Okay, so how much was that? That's number one. Number two, you've raised a query about the 42 million, that they have not done the reconciliation. Now that they have done the reconciliation of the entire account, has that been taken care of? Has that been fixed?
Yes.
So that's what you need to answer.
It has been fixed.
And then number three is the issue of the 231 that was not disclosed in the financial statement. How do we treat that now?
They have provided a payment schedule that adds up to 326. 320, is it 326 or 270? 371,903. Now that is even more than what we had asked.
Governor, if these management responses were not signed by you, I'll give you an opportunity, because I've just been asking myself, who compiled these written responses? And I've gone to the end, I can see they've been signed by Patrick Olentutu. So there's nobody to blame but you. Your responses are not addressing the issues. You have seen that in the previous matter, where we were asking you to be specific on row by row. Here again, there are numbers that have been cited. And what you need to do, because you see, the Auditor General explains that from the analysis, they have a good picture about the accuracy and completeness of that expenditure. But your response does not bring it out. And that's why you're having a problem with the senators. And you see, we are not going to say that now we agree with the Auditor General. It's your written response that will go on record. And it needs to make sense. It needs to deal with every figure that has been cited, because the auditor is not your advocate. The auditor is an independent constitutional body. So I thought that you had delegated this job of compiling responses, but I can see your signature there. I think as someone who has parliamentary experience and executive experience, we are going to demand more from you. The written response is all over the place. I wish it was as structured as what the Auditor General has said. That notwithstanding, Auditor General, do you still have a query on the completeness and accuracy of RMLF receipts? Do you still have a problem on the receipts and the expenditure?
Chair, just before the director comes in, and I can see the frustration of Senate, especially the Senator for Narok, on the issue of the 42 million, because as you have said, Chair, management is not responding to the issue as it were. We do not have a reconciliation for the 42 million, which was in our report. Two, that evidence provided under Appendix, which is Appendix 3, is actually a printout of the account, not a reconciliation. So the audit query still is not answered. Thank you, Chair.
Senator Cherarke.
Chair, in fact, I agree with you that we have similar frustration, because the audit query is asking somebody else, the governor is giving us a different answer. Because I have looked at Appendix, the one that the governor has referred to, that's Appendix 3, there is nothing much that is disclosing. Because looking at the carried forward, that is money that is carried forward in that special purpose account, closing balance was 214 million. I think they expended 371 million. So in fact, the further that the governor should have done is to provide us a list of schedule of payment of road contractors and what they did. And I think these are not the very hard things because we know how special purpose account operates. So the question, the frustration we are getting is that governor is giving us a different mitigating, because governor, you are having a second bite cherry to the Senate. You are given opportunity to try and mitigate what the auditor has raised, but you are giving us a totally different answer to what the issues were being raised. Because one, an amount of 231 million to road contractors would have expected a payment schedule to prove that 231 million was paid in terms of, but now giving us withholding tax, that should have been, this provision should have been an additional information if you were giving it to maybe KRA or on the aspect of statutory reduction. So, Chairman, I think this question has not been sufficiently answered, and all other queries that the governor has tried to answer, they don't answer totally. There is no question that has been answered since we had this conversation. I thank you.
Auditor General, when you say that the cash book and bank statements presented for audit had a balance of 170 million, you still maintain that position? So that we deal with this 42 million. We have seen the 212 million coming in. Is it still your position that the bank statements reflected a balance of 170 million?
Chair, through you, please don't miss the point that OAG also said that the list you have here, this is just a printout for RNLF. It has nothing to do with the legitimate amount being reflected on the audited books.
And that's why I'm asking the auditor the question, because they must be having a copy of the bank statements that was presented for audit review. What was the balance in that statement?
That balance as by 30th June, as at the 30th June was 170. But when you look at this schedule, they were allowed to transact, to receive money and transact beyond 30th June. That's why the figure has changed.
So do you cast any doubt on the changes to that figure?
No, because of they were allowed to spend beyond 30th June.
Meaning that the 42 million you have cited here, then because it's cash accounting, but we know the Treasury sometimes opens a window.
They have windows.
So when the window was opened, there were some receipts.
They received that 114.
Wait a second, Chair. No, that's not accurate. Because if that's indeed the case, even if they allowed a 2-week window, by the time this audit was carried out, that issue would have been reflected. And also, since it's a cash accounting, it only accounts to up to June 30th. And if there's a period where there are certain payments on IFMIS, they will only go up to July 15th. And that will be allowed to be adjusted in the financial statements. So, Mr. Chairman, the issue is very simple here. This query has not been responded to. We have not been given evidence on the reconciliation of the 42 million. That has got to be given to us. That's number one. Number two, the issue of the 231, which was paid road contractors, that has not been disclosed in the financial statements, need to be dealt with, so that we understand how to proceed with those two issues. Because this issue where the auditor is saying now that they are allowed to spend after June 30th, you are limited to a cash counting. So you are only limited to up to June 30th. Yeah, so you cannot try to justify that at all. Because we will be now delving into a next financial year. Yeah.
Now, Auditor, my bigger concern is on the expenditure. You are saying that appendix has expenditure entries. Was that expenditure reflected in the financial statements?
Yes, it
At what point, if at the time of audit you had said it was not disclosed in the financial statements? You have said 231 was paid but not disclosed in the financial statements. If that was true, that would be criminal.
No, it was because when they receive money from road maintenance levy, they include that account. But when they make the payments, it now goes to the respective votes. Like if it is construction of roads, it will now in the acquisition of assets, then it will be there an account for construction of roads under road maintenance levy fund.
So was it 231 or 326?
It's 326.
It's 326.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think we are having problems with this finding because the Auditor General is also shifting the goalposts. Because whereas the Auditor General had queried 231, he is now saying that actually the expenditure was 326. Whereas he talked of 170 million as being the balance, he's saying that actually because of the opening of the window, the balance was higher. Now, that puts us in a very awkward position as a Senate, and it becomes very difficult to pin the governor against the wall. Senator Cherarki.
We have had such cases. I remember the governor of Marsabit, we had similar challenges of not properly answering questions and also not getting clarity for OAG. And we have seen in the similar audit queries that we have raised earlier in the substantive matters, it doesn't tie up with what we expected. So I don't know, Chair, maybe Governor can tell us, does he want to proceed with the non-satisfactory questions which should have assisted in mitigating the audit query, or we end it here and allow him to do the cleanup of their responses? Because if we proceed the way we are proceeding, question audit 1 has not been satisfactorily answered, audit 2 up to number 3, it has not been answered, because I expected even the OAG to demand the payment schedule of 231, for example, to tell us who these contractors are. Have you seen those documents of 231 million of the one you are querying? Did you see the contractors' payment schedule and everything? You have seen it?
Yes.
And does it tie up with 231?
No, it does.
It does. So the point, and this appendix, when was it? Appendix 3 on the special purpose account. There is a balance of, is it, I had noted that one, is it, closing balance was 214 million, and I think 371. So, as the chair said, it does not tie up with what they had raised earlier. So, Auditor, what was your audit query? Which amount were you querying? Because as your official report, you are querying 231 million.
Yes, we were. Yeah, we were querying the 231 million that had not been posted.
Yes. But you said, Senator Ledama, talk about 326 million.
So you're saying the actual expenditure was 326?
Yes, actual expenditure.
And that was captured in the financial statement?
And in your expenditure schedule, 326 million had been spent, or 231 million had been spent?
Chair, maybe I may like to clarify.
Yes.
In this schedule, under Schedule 3, there is amount brought forward, which they received for the previous year. Included in that amount, there was also payments in relation to the previous year. That increased it from the figure we are asking of the 231, now it increases it to 376. This 376 includes payments that were made in this year, but related to the previous year.
Honorable members, I think the auditor has, the baseline has changed. So this is a matter that we just have to take the advice of the Auditor General, that now he has seen that there are some monies that came from a different period and that mitigates it, because it will then end up interrogating the OAG rather than interrogating the county executive. And I don't think that's how our proceeding should be.
Chair, just briefly, maybe I might be able to help the committee. If the county government just responded to the specific queries that were raised by the Auditor General, would not be in this quagmire, where you just reconcile the 42 million. Number two, you provide a schedule of the 231. Because if you go to what you've provided, which is a statement of account, if I stop at June 28, because that's why it stops at, if you go to schedule appendix number 3, Chair, if I may request you to go there. Appendix 3, if you look through up to item number 201, because that is the one that ends in June 28th, 2021, because the rest starts from 13th of July, 2021, which is another financial year. If you are to go, and I assume that the Auditor General carried out the audit up to June 30th, because earlier on we were dealing with the issue of him working on financial statements which were not finalized. Now, if you go to 107, if you go to, 28th of June, the figure is 107,664,498. These other figures, a lot of these expenditures were carried out between the 13th and the 16th of July. So, Mr. Chairman, my request would be as follows. Can the county government simply just restrict themselves to answering the specific questions that has been asked? Reconcile the 42 million variance, provide a schedule of 231. Then by doing that, we will then be able to move forward, and have a conclusion on that matter. Because as we speak, now taking into consideration what has been presented to us as appendix number 3, it would simply lead to us opening a huge Pandora's box.
The challenge we have is that the Auditor General has vacated his earlier position, where the 231, he now confirms ought to be 326. And the 42 million, he confirms that the variance has now changed because of payments from other financial years that were posted late. Am I getting the right interpretation? Yeah, so we have that problem, Senator Ledam.
No, but
the 42, yeah. The auditor is now dealing with a different figure. The 231, the auditor is now dealing with 326. Yeah, but it does not take away the fact that the governor still did not deal with the 42
with the issues that were
or the 231.
But and I don't want to impute improper motive on the side of the auditor. But if you look at when the audit was carried out, when was it carried out? It was carried out in April of 2022. Do you want to tell me by April 2022, the Auditor General would not be, alive to the issues that happened in July 2021? Come on. I mean, it's common sense. So what is there is that we either restrict ourselves to those issues, or we now open a Pandora's box.
And you need a forensic audit.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we need to make progress. Governor, please take note, and I think it will get to a point of reprimand if we proceed and find that you are not dealing with issues, you are dodging issues. And if it becomes a regular pattern, we might then just say that you go back and reorganize your responses so that you are dealing with the specific issues. Yes. I want us to proceed to the next one on irregular utilization of receipts and see whether you have dealt with the issues raised by the Auditor General.